Hello. So this is a lesson or a practice on word choice and trying to find more accurate, precise, and specific words for your sentences. This is just a way to help you say more precisely what you mean when you're writing and to get not only the right word, but the right feeling or make the kind of impact you want to make on your reader. So these are a few ideas of words that I like to use for this exercise because they can be more specific. Especially the word get or got can have so many meanings. I get to go to the store. I got an award. I'm getting worked up. So there's this idea of being able to receive something, but it's not very specific about how a person might feel about it or the type of receiving or acquiring it is. So it might be I received, I acquired. If you receive something, it comes to you, someone usually gives it to you. I mean, if you acquire something, you go out and get it. I I am getting worked up. I'm getting worked up. I mean, you might even say that differently. Instead of I'm getting worked up, I'm escalating. My tension is escalating or something like that. So sometimes it's not just replacing one word for another, but revising the phrase or the sentence. Uh, and then with see or saw, not a seesaw, which are super fun and which I feel like I'm always on the bottom of unless I get with a really big person. So see can be like I observed. That's more neutral, right? Like this is the way I see it. Um, I I had all these ideas for this last night and they all went out the window. I observed, I understood is another way to think about it. I see what you mean. So that's more accurate. I watched, I spied, and then it could be something like I witnessed or I and you could have other things. My eyes landed on, a certain bird that you're looking for, a white wing sparrow or something like that. So with these, you can see how they can get more specific. The other thing with op-eds and other kinds of argumentative uh, writing is that they can also be slightly subtly trying to convince people depending on the way the word is worded or the sort of color of the word. So it could be I observed or I witnessed, um, but I spied has a different color. And so in terms of that, it could be sometimes when you talk about something, an action somebody took, you could use that word in a way that gives an opinion about that person without being again over sensationalistic like he did. Like so you might say the current administration did not give um, PPEs to states, so or did not withheld. You could say essentially stole because the PPEs for there instead of saying were for the states, and that's the job of the federal government to do. I did a trick. I performed a trick. I landed a trick. And it also gives a different diction or gives an idea about like you might land a trick if you're a skateboarder. If you performed a trick, you might be a circus clown. I I executed a trick, um, and that word's complicated in other ways. Okay, I understand. I acknowledge. So there's the kind of understanding which is like taking in information, but there's also the understanding that we have between people, like where you understand what someone's saying. I acknowledge. I intuit. I believe, even like I understand this to be correct. I I studied. I mean, there's different ways to say. I mean, that's not exactly understand, but as you start going into it, you might say, is understand exactly what I mean? And I actually had an experience today conferencing with a student where I thought a word was not the right word for what they were meaning. But so I ended up not being sure, and I looked what I was, if I was accurate in terms of my understanding. So I looked them up. I don't recommend using a thesaurus unless you stick with simple words, but I do recommend looking up words if you're not sure what you really want to say. So you're going to now apply this for some revisions with your sentences and words in your writing project, and I look forward to seeing those.